It's time to get real about real estate. Welcome to International Real Estate Radio with Macarena Rose. We explore all things international real estate. And now, your host, international real estate expert, Macarena Rose.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to International Real Estate Talk. And, what are we doing on International Real Estate Talk? Well, we're talking about everything that has to do with international real estate. Well, the very important part of that is your taxes and your liability and your information. And so I have invited Maurice Glazer to be on the show with me again because he is a brilliant wealth of information. He is the guru, as far as I'm concerned, as it comes to setting up your tax planning to know what you need to know. Because, welcome, Maury, to the show, first of all. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure being here, as usual.
I really appreciate you coming back to help educate our listeners. And, during the break, you and I were talking about how we do all of this, servicing of speaking and educating people because we're passionate, because we find many people don't know these things, and they're getting their, well, I hate to say a saying my dad used to say, but he was a good old boy. He used to say people are getting their tit caught in the ringer, and they're finding out later that they should have done this ahead of time. And so we want to help them. And the only way we can do that is with people like you. So tell us what...
And you, because we were talking about the real estate portion of it. Everybody needs to hire smart professionals. And it's all about what I call lifestyle planning. Got to decide, what do you want to do in life? It's like you, Tampa, Belize, wherever else you hang out. I mean, it's a lifestyle. And then we need to do the planning that connects with it. And we got to be smart. And we can't, people stay with CPAs and accountants and lawyers for years and years, and then they find out that they don't know what they need them to know. Because they say, hey, I want a foreign bank account. And the accountant says, well, I don't want to handle that. And in the meantime, you have $100,000 in a foreign bank, and you forgot to report it. You forgot to pick up the income. The accountant never asked you. We have what we call Section Circular 230. We have a list that automatically all of our people have to ask each question to our clients. So we ask. We don't expect them to tell us. We ask, hey, do you have any of this so we can make sure? Do you have a foreign corporation? Do you have a foreign trust? Do you have foreign property? And what's going to happen is eventually the IRS wants to know everything that we have offshore. Let's not even call it the IRS. That sounds like too much of a police state. The government wants to know everything that we own, offshore, onshore. Because what they're looking for, truthfully, is they want to be paid taxes on the interest, dividends, capital gains, whatever it might be. And the good part about that is there might be some deductions we're missing because we haven't done it. Like Mexico is just, I just read they're going to stop the Fideicomiso Trust, which is where you can borrow within, where you can buy land within 60 miles of the coast and 100 miles of the border. They're going to stop that. That means that people are going to be able to own their homes individually and buildings and whatever. So there could be some big tax deductions if you own it personally or in an LLC that could flow through. So we got to make sure, what country should we do? What kind of entity should we use? You want to go offshore? I had a client today, hey, I'm going to go to Panama. I said, well, who are you going to go with? I mean, he's a investment broker. And here he's just going to put it anywhere. I said, no, it's no different than deciding to go with Scottrade or Maurice Glazer. It's no different. You got to look at it. What each person has to give you. How can they help? How can they help you design the plan? Lifestyle planning. What do you want to do? I have a couple older women who I can't forget, and unfortunately one of them has left me as a client, which I'm sorry. But like I told her, Why are you going to Ecuador? It's too far away. You don't have enough money. What if you get sick? Well, medical care in Ecuador is good. What if you have cancer and need to get back to MD Anderson or Mayo Clinic or wherever? And you're going to be in Ecuador and you don't have the $2,000 to fly from the little town on the coast to Quito to Houston back home.
And a lot of time involved in that.
Yeah, and a lot of time. I mean, you could be dead and what if you can't hire? When my dad was sick, I had a private plane hired. It was going to cost me $10,000 to fly him from Las Vegas to Dallas. He wouldn't come because of his wife, which was silly because my mother, I would have doped her and put her on the plane and brought her also. I would have given her a shot or something. but the poor man lost his life because he just too short-sighted and wasn't planning on what he didn't think he would ever die, to be honest. And all of us, of course, and you being the spiritual person you are, we all have a limited time on this great earth, and we have to do the right things, and we have to do it in the right functionality. So the bottom. Yeah, I'm sorry. You were ready to say something.
Well, I was going to say you're so right about that, because it has to matter what we're doing. And, part of this being passionate about educating people, you every day, the 12, 14, 15 hours you work a day, you are educating and helping people. I know people that they just rave about you because they're like, oh, I talked to him and he returned my phone call, one, but two, he returned my email.
And I return emails constantly.
It's amazing.
Sunday night at midnight. Yeah,
which is amazing. So, I don't know when you sleep, quite frankly, but you are very passionate about what you do, about helping people. And that's why I wanted you to come back on the show, because people really don't know. They don't understand the severity of the Hire Act. The banks are going to be holding their money. They don't understand that there should be reporting if they have an offshore account. These are things that we want to help people before they get in trouble, not come to you later. It's harder to fix. It's the same thing when someone comes to me as a buyer's agent. Let me help you in the beginning. It's very hard to get you out of something or let you know that you really bought a bad thing.
And like I had said to you, what if you're in one of those banks that is not a good bank and they're being examined and the IRS picks up your name because you haven't picked up interest or dividends or haven't reported the bank account or whatever it might be, the IRS could say, hey, there's no amnesty for you. The penalty is 30%. That 80-year-old woman from Florida could go to jail for 3 to 6 years. $100 million. She claimed innocent spouse, but she had elected to move that money to Liechtenstein from Switzerland. So she's not innocent. She knew what she was doing. She said, oh, my husband died and I really didn't know. My professional told me to do it. Well, those aren't excuses. And once you're on the list, now we got her penalty, taxes, and interest will probably be maybe as much as 90% of her total estate.
Wow. So it really does pay to just do it right the first time.
Yeah, no, we need to do it right. We need to get the information, and if your professionals don't know it and aren't willing to spend the time, I started with international living back, it's got to be, I lose track of time, it's got to be 8, 9, 10 years ago in Puerto Vallarta. They heard me speak at a real estate seminar because we did the first mortgage in Mexico.
Wow.
And I helped the mortgage people explain to the mortgage company what the foreign earned income exclusion was for the CFO for Marriott in Puerto Vallarta, because they weren't going to give him a mortgage because he had this big deduction. They say, he doesn't make any money. Said, no, that's just a government allowance for living offshore. And we got the first mortgage done, written up. It's a big deal. I got the picture in my briefcase of that. And the point is after that, international living, it was Susan Haskins and Dan Pressure.
Of course, I know them both.
They're friends. They were clients for a few years. And of course, when I left International Living. The only one that's still with me is Glenn Apprentice. But I know the young lady from Panama. I know all the people.
You know all of them, yeah.
I worked with them 6, 7, 8 years.
I've done vetting for them of information, and they did come in, and I helped them around Belize. So, yeah, I know them also. It's a small world, isn't it? You know, we're going to take a break, because when we come back, I want to talk about this. You know, the HIRE Act is something we want to educate people on. That's coming right around the corner. It's it's serious stuff. It's 30% that's going to be held if you're sending money out, and people need to know that. And then I think we're going to
need to do planning to get it back.
Oh, and so if they don't do that, they're not even going to get their 30% back. And it's not like you get to hold it in your account. The bank holds it, right? Ouch. We're going to take a break. Or the government works. Or the government. Oh, and try and get that back. Hold on, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to International Real Estate Talk, and we're having our conversation with Maurice Glazer, who is just the expert guru on your lifestyle tax planning. And you know, if you're doing stuff international, Maurice, you really do need to do planning before you go, or you need to revisit what you thought you planned and set up to know that you actually are filing the right forms. You're letting people, you know, full disclosure of what you have, because your amnesty goes out the window if you're not in compliance, correct?
Correct. And actually the issue comes in to the fact that I was just, and again, this call I had just before we got on the air, I told him, he said, well, I'm just going to move my money offshore. I said, hey, wait a minute. You have some issues right here in the United States. Why don't we work on a plan? You have this big house. He happens to be from Florida. I said, you have this big house in Florida. You have a building. You have a business. You have all kinds of things. Let's do some planning here and then talk what the next step is about moving this stuff to the next level.
Yeah. It makes
sense. Let's not, this is not hopscotch where we're trying to jump over the square.
And, you have brought up a good point about, like, even the one lady that's like, oh, I'm going to go to Ecuador. And you're like, whoa, have you thought about how far it is and medical? And, the medical might be okay, but you got a long way to get back to your, well, if you're coming from North America, you got a long way to come back.
6 hours to Houston.
That's a long travel, a long trip.
A long travel time.
But, the HIRE Act is what's key on people's mind right now, and I'm finding many people do not know about it. And, the fact that 30% is going to be held, that's a really big key thing to know that you're going to send $100,000 and $30,000 is going to be held by, is it the banks that hold it?
Yeah, 30%.
And the banks hold the money, or the government?
It's going to make them, the bank who's sending the money is going to withhold 30%.
Okay.
Withhold. They're not going to, it's not taxed yet. So when you talk about planning, and I'm sure many people in the United States, because I have a bunch of them myself, don't even plan for their current tax bill within the United States. But if you envision, let's say you're going to move $100,000 offshore, and the bank says you're moving it to India, and that bank isn't registered with the U.S. government, therefore we're going to withhold 30% or $30,000. So if you're not doing planning, then you have overestimated your tax for the current year. If you're doing the planning, then what you can say is, let's say you're in business for yourself. So, okay, don't withhold any more money out of my salary because I already have $30,000 being withheld because I can prove that it's earned income. Because that's what they were sure that it wasn't drug money or whatever.
Right.
It's real earnings.
Right.
So now we have 30%. So that $30,000, all it is being held by the government, no different than withholding tax.
And how do you get it back?
Well, you file your tax return, and you show it as an additional withholding amount on your tax, like an estimated tax payment.
Okay.
So you just need to, that's why you need to be doing planning every month, every quarter. When we pick up clients, they say, well, we don't want to spend $150 a month for bookkeeping and whatever. And I'm saying, no, you need to every month do financials to decide where you're at. The more money you make, you might have to do more planning. So let's let's do the financials. Let's determine what the tax is going to be going forward every month. As your income rises, hopefully, we'll put more and more money aside to pay the tax. That way you're protected. And when you get to the end of the year, we don't want to loan the money to the government. What we want to do is have just enough paid in to cover what tax we owe. So like myself, I spent probably 3 weeks going through my own tax, because I don't have time to file my own tax return right this minute because I have 2,500 others. So what I did was I tried to figure out, okay, how much tax am I short? And I came, okay, I owe another 2,500 or 5,000, whatever it was. And I wrote a check and I gave it to the government. It's the same thing with this Hire Act withholding. We need to know what it is so that we can then prepare to get it back, or better yet, prepare to be that part of the tax we owe anyway. If you give them an extra 30,000, then what are they going to do with it? We don't want to loan it to them. They're not a good, I hate to say it, not a good debtor.
Well, I was going to say, because if let's say you bought the property in, February 2014, and, the 30% is withheld, because this goes into effect January 1, 2014, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, you buy a property February 2014, you've got 30%, sitting in the government's hands. You've got to file your tax return, right? For 2014, you're not going to be filing that until 2015.
And what if they say, and I don't want to be far-fetched, what if the government says, we're in so much trouble, we have so much debt, we're not going to be able to send you that check back because we just don't have the cash reserves?
Well, but they're holding your money.
They're holding your money. And they say to you, hey, we can't send you that 30,000 refund back. We'll give it to you here's a IOU, and we'll give it back to you in 6 months.
I'm not thinking that people would be happy with that.
Right. So everybody needs to, it's a big job for my staff, and I understand people who I got 30 people here, 15 of them are accountants, and I can understand. We work 12 months a year, and every quarter, we're putting in 10, 12-hour days in every weekend because we have to make sure that every client has done their planning up to that point in time. But that's what we try to do. I want everybody to know, if not on a monthly basis, at least on a quarterly basis, how much money they're going to owe by the time they hit the end of the year. And if we do that, then we won't be overpaid by the 30%. Hopefully we'll be within 10 cents of what we owe. It's like me. Okay, I think I'm within $100 of what I'm going to owe when I do file my tax return. I don't want to owe them money because it's expensive borrowing, and I don't want them to owe me money.
That's impressive. That's very impressive. You're the right man for the job.
Yeah. Well, all of us, when we're thinking about it, all of us have a lifestyle that we want to accomplish. I know what mine is. Truthfully, my son tries to get me to leave earlier. He says, Dad, I'm selfish. He says, I understand 10, 12 hours a day is great for this year. But if something happens to you, what am I going to do next year? So why don't we go home early every day and make sure you can work another year or 5 years
30,
or whatever.
40.
Right? and that's lifestyle planning. So I got to think about that in my own status, right? What do we want to do? I don't think I'm going to be a good one. What am I going to? I don't fish. I don't hunt. I don't like boating. So what I'm going to do? What I do is I study this and I educate my staff.
And you educate the world, by the way. You educate the world. Being willing to do a radio show like this. You
about my young accountant. I educated him, gave him information. We had continuing education courses, And he used that and went out. And truthfully, I'm sort of impressed. He got a pretty big position. Now, I offered to match it, but they're like the big four firm, right?
Yes, but you educated him, so you have a lot of honor in that. Yep, well done.
Yeah, well, I feel like I helped him succeed on his lifestyle plan, which is what it is. It's a lifestyle plan for him. He wants that name on his resume. That's what he told me. And I told him, you're welcome to come back anytime. He told me a year. God willing, that's what he's going to do.
Well, we'll see. He'll like it, right? No matter what, you've taught him a lot, and you gave him wings. See if the wings come back home.
Right. And if he gets frustrated, I've done that one for many years, and I know what it's like, 60, 70, 80 hours a week traveling all over the place on someone else's schedule. It's tough. Anyway, but the point is, all of us, we need to decide what we're going to do. I just got an email from another client who moved to Costa Rica. So he's asking me, he had to rent a private plane because he had to fly his 4 dogs and his kids. He felt that it was just as cheap.
Well,
instead of shipping everything to.
I think this is part of that lifestyle planning, and I'm going to ask you to come back on the show because we're at the end of this wonderful hour, and we don't have enough education in. I think you and I can talk for days and days and days to help people, because it is important that they know to educate themselves now on their lifestyle planning. And when it comes to what they need to file and what they need to know, not just about the Hire Act, but about their offshore accounts and finances, they need to know this from you. So will you come back on the show again, Maury?
Absolutely. And what we need to do is make sure they either call you, email you, or email me at mglazer@glazerfinancial.com, or call me. I really do work 10, 12 hours a day still.
Yes, you do.
And and I do sleep, by the way, I do. but I make sure that I'm constantly checking. So if there's something urgent, I got clients in Australia that can only call me,
certain times.
They call me at 5 o'clock at night, but that's 4 o'clock in the morning there.
It's early. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We're going to have you back on again. Thank you so much, Maury.
Thank you for asking me, and I'm always available.
What a pleasure. So email Maury. He's got the information you need. I'm your host, Macarena Rose, and you're listening to International Real Estate Talk on the Overseas Radio Network. I'm your host, Macarena Rose.